She had always believed that love, if it ever came, would arrive with thunder, loud, unmistakable, impossible to ignore. But when it finally did, it came quietly, like resin, slow to pour, patient to set, beautiful only with time. Her name was Alara, and she owned a small workshop tucked between a sleepy cafe and a forgotten bookstore. There, she spent her days lost in the alchemy of resin, mixing pigments, waiting for the cure, turning silence into art. Her fingers always smelled faintly of lavender and alcohol vibes, her apron forever stained with color. One day, while it was raining, softly, like a whisper, he walked in. She didn't hear the door at first. The bell didn't chime properly, as one of those old bells that liked to work only when it pleased. But she looked up from her workbench, and there he was, a stranger with a camera slung over one shoulder and a lost look in his eyes. "Sorry," he said, "I didn't mean to interrupt." "You didn't," she replied, unsure why her voice sounded gentler than usual. "You're welcome to look around." He didn't look around. He looked at her work, at the trays of shimmering resin, at the pieces still setting under domes of glass. His gaze lingered not in judgment, but with something softer, curiosity maybe, or wonder. "I've never seen anything like this," he murmured. "Most people haven't," she said, and offered a small smile. "It's not something you stumble upon unless you're really looking." He came back the next day, and the next. Sometimes he bought small pieces, a keychain, a coaster, once even a flawed pendant she'd meant to throw away. Other times he just sat, sipping coffee from the cafe next door, watching her work as if each movement mattered. His name was Mikkel. He was a photographer between jobs, staying in town longer than planned, renting a room above the bookstore. He spoke slowly, deliberately, as though each word cost him something. But when he laughed, it was sudden and genuine, like sunlight after a storm. He asked questions about resin, about pigments, about how she knew when something was finished. "You don't always know," she told him. "Sometimes you just stop adding to it and hope it doesn't fall apart." One evening, he asked if he could photograph her hands. "Just your hands," he said quickly, sensing hesitation. "There is something honest in the way they move." She nodded. He returned with his camera, and as she poured resin into a silicone mold, he took quiet photos. No flash, no direction, only soft shutter clicks in rhythm with her breath. Later, he sent her the pictures. Her hands looked like they were painting with light. They were telling stories without needing words. That night, she couldn't sleep. She tried to tell herself it was nothing, a passing guest, a moment that would pass, like so many before it. But his presence lingered, like a scent on fabric or a dream just before waking. One day he didn't come, nor the day after. She told herself that he must have left town, that it was inevitable, that she'd known it from the start. But it still ached, not like heartbreak, no, not yet. It was quieter than that, a hollow, an empty chair where something used to be. On the third day, he returned. He stood in the doorway, drenched from the rain, holding a single photo. It was her hands, but also her smile reflected in the glass of the resin she was working on. Unintentional, almost hidden, but there. "I didn't leave," he said, breathless. "I just needed to know if I missed you. And I did." She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Instead, she handed him a mold, clear, unused, ready. "Help me make something new," she said, and he did. They walked side by side, slow, careful, like lovers learning the shape of a shared silence. There were no declaration, no grand gestures, only small ones, a brush of a finger, a shared laugh, the way they waited for resin to set as if time didn't matter. Because love, like resin, doesn't rush. It pours gently, it takes its shape in stillness, and when it's ready, it shines.